Welcome back to our series of networking. We are currently on episode number 2, and today we are going to discuss about the network security group, which is related to our network videos or the networking series video. Today we'll discuss about the network security group. In this series of video, our objective is to understand the different categories of services available in Azure, learn what they provides in terms of the service features, and also we are going to look at how do we provision those services with the help of infrastructure as a code tools like Terraform, Azure CLI, or maybe sometime PowerShell. But this particular session is more focused towards understanding the features available in the service and performing the Terraform code for that service. Let's begin. Hi, my name is Rakesh Suryavanshi and I am a technical architect, and currently I am presenting this session about the network security group. Just a quick recap about our previous episode, which is episode number 1. In that episode, we quickly discuss about the capabilities of the virtual network, what these virtual networks are, how do you design the virtual networks, how do you create the subnet and all those features. And at the end, we have also configured a virtual network with the help of Terraform code, and this is what the repository which we have used to provision the virtual network. I am going to continue this repository to perform our same additional activities. So for example, if we would like to create our NSGs, we will create the NSGs from here. NSG is a service available in Azure, which is also called Network Security Group. The service allows you to set up certain rules in your virtual networks, and those rules can be applied to a particular subnet in virtual network, or you can apply the NFCs or those rules onto the network interface of the virtual machine. So there are two ways you can apply the NSG. Either you apply it on the subnet level or you apply on the virtual network interface of the virtual machine. So in the NSG, you have two set of rules. One is the inbound rules and the other one is outbound rules. Inbound rules basically manages your inbound traffic, and outbound rules manages your outbound traffic. So when you create an NSG, there are some default inbound rules created which you cannot modify, and these are the rules which is needed for to flow the Azure inbuilt traffic within the virtual network. For example, you need to have the VNet inbound rules which will allow you to allow your traffic to flow within the VNet. So as we discussed in our virtual network session, that the traffic between the subnets of a given VNet, so for example you have a VNet and you have multiple subnets within the VNet, so the traffic flowing within the VNet from one subnet to other subnet is built in accessible, like it flows without having any problem. You don't need to apply any blockages, any rules for that. So this is the rule which is basically available for that. And then there is a rule, an inbound rule for Azure load balancing inbound traffic, so it balances the load within the virtual network. And then there is a deny all inbound, which suggests that any traffic within the virtual network is not allowed because of that particular rules. Now apart from that, we have certain outbound rules as well. So the outbound rules basically similar to inbound rules, it controls the traffic of the it controls the outgoing traffic from your virtual network. For example, you have the traffic rules for the managing the VNet traffic outside of your virtual network, managing the internet outbound traffic, and let's say if we would like to allow any specific traffic on this on the virtual network, but we want to restrict. Let's say we have the application setting deployed on the web server, which is deployed on our web subnet, and we would like to make sure our web subnet is only accessed via the port number 443, which is the SSL port. So say if we have the virtual network, so this was the virtual network created from our previous demonstration. We have the subnet here, web subnet, data subnet, and service subnet. In the web subnet, let's say I have a web application deployed here, and I would like to control my traffic coming to this subnet from the internet, and I would like to make sure that any traffic which is coming to this subnet is only coming via port number 443 as it is displayed on your screen. Then how would I do that is I can enable this or facilitate this particular change with the help of NSG. So what I can do here is I can apply the NSG on this particular subnet with the help of NSG rules from here. So if I go to the network security group, I can select my NSG web and then save it. So you can see that with the help of NSG rules, what it says is that everything is blocked. Only the virtual network to virtual network communication is allowed because this is the default behavior of NSG. Now if I go back to my NSG and check the inbound rule, so I can add here an inbound rule. Then I can say from source any ports. So if you have any specific port, if you would like to control your traffic from given a specific set of IP address ranges, then you can specify those IP address range. If you would like to say, okay, I would like to allow traffic from anywhere, then leave it as an star, and then destination would be your virtual network in this case. And then we are making sure that we would like to have the only HTTP traffic. So that is why I've selected service as an HTTPS. And this means that it will allow or deny. So basically we are saying we would like to allow and deny only from energy. So this will rule on the, will sit on a top priority. This will have more precedence over this one, right? This is how you manage your rules in the network security group. So now if anybody who is willing to interact with my application sitting on the web server, they only would be able to do it via the HTTPS protocol only. Otherwise the application, the user will not be interacted, will not be accessible on any other port, let's say HTTP port or port 8080 for example. Okay, I hope this was clear. And similarly you can control any of the other rules. So you can have the same NSG specified or connected to multiple subnet, multiple virtual network within the within the given subscription, or you can have a multiple NSGs created for different layer of your application or different subnets of your virtual network. So it's up to your design. The best way is to segregate the network security group based on the different layers or different subnets, so that you have more control. How do you manage your traffic flow within the virtual network? Now one more example, quick example could be, let's say here on my data subnet, I don't want any traffic to come apart from let's say, or I don't want any traffic to be routed apart from port 1443, which is a SQL Server port. So I can apply NSG rule, create another NSG with that particular rule. One more example could be, let's say my organization says any resources created within that particular virtual network, they should not have internet accessible. So you can block the internet from the with the help of NSG outbound rules, and you can say, okay, resources created in this particular virtual network will not have access to virtual network. So things like that you can implement in the NSG rules. I hope this is clear, and when and why we should use and how do we define the NSG rules in the virtual network. Now let's move on to the second part of our demonstration or video wherein we are going to check the Terraform network security group portion with the help of Terraform. So in our Terraform, we'll check that how do we create our virtual network security group. So I'm on the Terraform website wherein we have the documentation available for network security group. In the network security group, basically we are able to find how do we create the network security group. So to create a network security group, even from Azure portal or any other tool, you need to provide the name of the security group, location, and the resource group. So we'll copy as is. Then we will create a default rule if we would like to create it. Otherwise, the default network security group with default rule set will be created. If you would like, you can create multiple rules with the help of like dynamic containers, applying the for each loop or for loop here in the NSG. Now, one thing is about the network security group association. So this is where you would find a resource type as a network security group association, so which will associate the network security group to a subnet. So here is what you should use: Azure RM subnet network security group. Before we apply the association, we need to have the subnet ID, because this particular resource type expects the subnet ID and the NSG ID. So basically you need to have subnet ID on which you would like to apply the NSG, and then you need to have, obviously you need to have NSG ID as well. So once you have both of these IDs, you can use this resource. So let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. Here on the Visual Studio Code, we have the virtual network resource block which we have created in our episode number 1. Here in the VNet block, we have created 3 different subnet which we have already looked at in the portal. And in the NSG, we have copied the NSG block. So this will create our NSG block. So we are going to call our TF network NSG. Okay, I'll call it learn NSG, and then we will have the rule created. So we are creating a rule which is, and we are going the rule type is a control outbound, for example. So we are saying allow everything from outside. So basically this rule is doing nothing, but it's just making we are applying some rule which says everything is allowed to go outside any traffic, and we are passing the same resource group name as where we have our virtual network created, and then we are saying the this rule will be associated to the NSG which we have created in the previous step. And then we are reading the subnet here, and the subnet name is data, so that we are making sure we are applying the rule this NSG on the data subnet. Let's run the program. I'll run the plan. If you haven't run the initialization, you need to make sure you run the initialize block first, and then you need to run the plan block. So once initialization and plan is successful, you can see that I have the virtual network block, and then it is going to create the NSG block as well. Now while I was demonstrating it to you, we have created some we have changed some entries manually. So this is where this particular change is showing that it's going to change a little bit, so we can ignore that, is fine, because we agree with the change. So I'm going to run the apply command, and let's see how it goes. This might take a bit of time, but this is really a simple resource to be provisioned in our virtual network. So you can see that It's reading the virtual network, it's modifying the virtual network, reading the subnet, because we have set the dependency, and then as per the dependency it's going to create a virtual NSG, and then it will create a rule, which is this, and then it will create the NSG association, which will associate the rule, and this deployment is completed as expected. Let's see if we got the changes here. You can see that the learn NSG rules has got the change. Now if I go back to the NSG rule set, we have this rule which is created under this resource group. And if I look at my outbound rule, so we should have our outbound rule, which is this one. So this is how you can create one or many virtual network resources. If you have a requirement of having the virtual network resources or virtual network security group created multiple times, I would recommend to use the for each loop, something like that, and then use the for each loop to create the resources, okay, or the rules in the same fashion. I hope this is clear. This is what it is in this particular episode. In the next episode we are going to look at some of the new networking services. I hope you like the video. Please give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. See you in the next video. Thank you very much.